Greetings, everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I'm your host, Latasha J. Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation Incorporated. I am super pumped to get into this podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3 community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She is my paternal grandmother, and although she passed away in 2001 of a massive heart attack, what she taught me and my family was about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure to introduce to you one of my sister friends. I just love her energy every time we have been able to be in one another's presence. Even from a distance, we have a love and respect for one another. When I reached out to her about being a guest, she was open, and she even followed up with me about it when we both got really busy. She has been featured as one of the Flora Pearl Foundation's phenomenal faces of greatness. She is truly an amazing woman who wears many hats, and I just cannot wait for you all to meet her. So without further ado, I present to you Yolanda Yogi Carter. Hi, Yogi. How you doing?
I am good. How are you doing, my sister?
Awesome sauce. It is such an honor to have you with us today. And if you would, just go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, my name is Yolanda Carter. I'm most widely known as Yogi Dada, the artist. Previously known as Yogi EC, the Eternal Communicator, but I walk by all those monikers.
Okay, all right. Well, we're actually gonna tap into and get into the podcast, but we're gonna go into the Yogi Dada. So, okay. So let's talk that right now. I want you to kind of basically share with our audience about your company name and where did it come from, and how do you get started in your business?
Okay. Sure. First of all, Yogi Dada. Yogi is a nickname I've carried since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. I really don't remember why they started calling me Yogi. I had no affinity for the cartoon or the baseball player, so it just somehow I became Yogi, and I've known that my whole life. But when I started doing poetry, I became Yogi EC, the Eternal Communicator, and so every time I would develop another artistic side of myself, I would add a moniker to it. So when I started back painting, one of my friends was like, well, you got to give yourself another name. And I was like, Dada jumped out off the top. Dadaism is a philosophy that came out post-World War II, basically believing that art is whatever you believe it is. So I totally believe in artistic freedom. So there you have it, Yogi Dada. The name became very popular when in 2010, I hand-painted a pair of earrings for myself. They were big and funky. I hand-painted them front and back, big flat pieces of wood about 3.5 inches, and I told my story through colorful artwork, designing the front and back differently. I wore them in Atlanta visiting a friend, and I could not get down the street. Everywhere I went, someone was saying, where did you get those earrings? So after about a year of just, designing and giving away a lot of Dadas at that time, I just prayed for divine direction, and God led me to go ahead and start Yogi Dada LLC in 2012. And so here we are today, pushing along.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I knew about that with the, how you initially got started, like having those earrings. I know just in painting them, I know you have your, the front and back, they are unique. And kind of tailored to whatever, even with your clients, whatever they're requesting. But I didn't know about you walking down the street and just getting those different compliments, and that's kind of where it came from. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I had no intention of really starting an earring business or getting back into my artwork. I'd actually stopped painting for many years because I had kind of lost the passion. Didn't really feel like I had a gift, and a friend invited me to a Sips and Strokes, and of course a paintbrush in my hand, I started painting. And within a few months of that, I made the first pair of earrings, and like I said, everywhere I went in Atlanta, whether it was a grocery store, restaurant, Subway, everywhere I went, someone was asking about those earrings. So I
Wow.
said, okay, here we go.
And if you would, because I have seen you advertise even with, kind of starting your own type of the Sips and Strokes. How if you'll share about that, so our audience can know about that.
Yes, I've actually had people. Everything I've done so far has been at the behest or the request rather of people who see what I do with the earrings. People start saying, "Hey, can I get some earrings?" And people know that I'm an artist, and they start asking about doing a Sips and Strokes type of class. But I always try to be walking my own independence and my own unique value as an artist. And I don't necessarily want people to have to paint what I paint. My goal is to educate you in the language of art through the use of color, how to use a brush stroke, how to design on the canvas, and using the space so that you can make the viewer's eye move across the canvas. And I call my class the mathematics of colors, just because I want to teach you the language and you create your own masterpiece. So I just give you tidbits along the way, but it's your journey on the canvas.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Wow. Because I wonder, I said I've got to get when you advertise, like I don't know how often you do it, but I saw something once on, I don't know if you advertise on Facebook or it may have been an email. And I was just like, I've got to get to one, but I didn't know that. And that's pretty cool for you to actually break it down so you're being educated, with how to use things properly. Even versus, like you said, just painting what you paint, that's really cool. So, yeah, so hats off to you for that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I wanted to know, I know that, as it relates to being an entrepreneur, is that it's definitely not easy. I know, everybody thinks it's sexy to say that they're an entrepreneur these days and, just, oh, this is what I do. But it really is a lot that goes into it, from top to bottom. And so I wanted to know, what are 3 things that have helped you persevere, even when you face challenging times and, as it relates to being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think the first thing is that you have to have the desire and the drive to want to do that. And it's not necessary for everybody, but I know I've had an entrepreneurial spirit since I was little. I remember being about 19 years old in New York, and I would get a bucket and a sponge, and I would go door to door. Do you need your car washed? $5. I would babysit. So I've always wanted to do my own thing, and actually I've owned several businesses before this one. So having the desire to do it would be huge. Number 2, I think the educating. Yes, it sounds wonderful to do a business, and you have the desire and the drive, but you really need to educate yourself on what it takes to run a business. The number one thing most people do not want to deal with are the numbers. Knowing the numbers of how running business, having a bank account just for your business. So the financial and the legal portion of running a business is paramount. And I think the third thing is having that support, with family, friends. But I would say some of my biggest supports have been people that I did not know other than through my artwork. I have one customer, or I hate being called a customer, I'll say a client. She lives out of town, and she, there were times that I did want to quit, and she would just call out the blue, divine intervention, and, hey, sis, just keep going. I love your work. If you have any needs, I'll come to Alabama and help you. So there's something about having that support system. But those are the 3 things I would say: having the drive, getting educated about how to run your business, and having that support system.
And I do want to, we definitely will follow up in a moment as it relates to support system. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, just like you were saying, even the support that you got, it was from people that you didn't know. It wasn't necessarily those people around you. Can you talk to that person who, say they're wanting to get that support from people around them and they're not understanding why they're not getting that support? Can you speak to that person who, they're maybe looking in the wrong direction? How to encourage them, Yogi?
I'm with you. Well, first of all, for me, like I said, I asked for divine direction before starting my business. I literally prayed and asked God, is this what you want me to do? Because I was getting so many orders for custom earrings, and I really heard God say, who gave you the gift to paint? So when you know you have that divine foundation, that will keep you going even in the moments when you don't have that support. But over the years, I've just learned that my greatest supporters have been from people who I met through my artwork, to the person who's looking for family and friends to really jump in there and support you. Just know that it is part of the journey. You are not alone if you don't get that support that you thought you should get. I'm meeting so many entrepreneurs, people in business all over, all kinds of gifts and talents, and it's a common thread, a common story. Friends and family don't purchase your artwork or whatever that you're selling. They want to, can I get it for free or a sample or a hookup? And I go back to scripture, the Bible says that a prophet is without honor in his own hometown. And even as great as Jesus was amongst his family and friends, he couldn't do miraculous things because there was no faith that he was who he said he was. So I look at that as part of the journey. It's hard for people to value what they're familiar with sometimes. So don't let it take away from the value of what you have and what you want to do. Once you decide that this is your path and your journey, you just nestle down in that nook and just keep going and keep going. But you will find your greatest inspiration from people who do not know you. And they have no vested interest in lying to you. So I'm like, that's what I take away. When I hear the good things about what I'm doing, and the support and the stories, I've been doing customer interviews over the last few weeks, just getting feedback from people that have either purchased my artwork or just, followers on social media. And the stories I am getting have been life-changing, absolutely life-changing when it comes to my artwork, in particular the earrings. Women say things like, they make me feel good. I wear my Dadas 3, 5, 7 days a week, and what my artwork means to them. So that outside feedback, and then hooking up with like-minded people, other entrepreneurs, it can be a very lonely journey. And friends and family, those who are closest to you, may not understand your struggles.
Yes.
And dealing with other entrepreneurs, that's huge. I can't talk about that enough.
Okay. Well, and pretty much you've already really touched into, as you hear about the support system and, what all it takes. And I believe you even tapped into, how to create those. And, just like you were saying, you definitely pray about it, and then you get instruction, and then you pretty much you're asking questions, you're, inquiring, from the different people who are supporting you and things of that nature. So that's great. I think that, as it relates to women and girls, that they can truly, benefit from what you've shared as it relates to how you have been able to develop those support systems in your life. So absolutely. And, but I did want to also ask you, as it relates to mentoring, have you had, any mentors along the way?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely have. I've had, and I think personally it's important to have mentors that are in your industry and those who may not be.
Okay.
Just because you get different perspectives. But I have several mentors that are artists and some that are just business owners. One in particular, Sylvia G-Baby Cohen. I met her some years ago in Atlanta when I was doing a show, and I was taking my earrings out of the trunk of my car, preparing to set up, and she saw them, and she was just in awe. She was like, "Are those earrings?" And I was like, "Yes." She said, "Those are hand-painted." I was like, "Yes." And so the story went on, and we became good friends, but I attended a seminar in Atlanta at her house called The Art of Business. And it was 6 hours and 6 students, and I was the only one that came from out of state. But I learned so much about the world of art and really handling your business. And so she's continued to feed into me over the years. And I have another mentor, Rick LeBlanc. He's a business owner, and he travels a lot, but he's given me a perspective of probably the economic value of what I have, and marketing. I have another mentor in marketing and branding. So all these different people have really poured into me as an artist and as a business owner. And what I've found is mentors will almost always elevate your thinking. They're going to see things for you bigger than you can see for yourself. They'll give you a perspective that's more aerial, looking down on the situation, versus as the entrepreneur, sometimes you're looking at it horizontally. You're always looking in what you have to do in terms of where do I want to go. So mentors were, you have to have a mentor, and I would say multiple in different areas to really grow and to see yourself where they are, and then you become a mentor and you can give back.
Yeah. And I did want to ask you, even as it relates to, like you said, you have some that are artists, and so some in the field with you, and then some who are business owners. What do you feel like has been the most productive? Because you run into where, even for those that were artists, that sometimes it became about competition.
Right. Well, I think the most important thing is listening to a mentor that is giving you valuable direction. If it agrees with your spirit, you'll know if someone's not, giving you good advice. You'll be able to feel it, like, what, I'm not sure if that fits me. So I take, what people give me, and then I just kind of see, does it fit my spirit? Is this where God's wanting me to go? And sometimes it's just tidbits. It could be one little piece of information you get from a person that can change the whole direction of what you want to do. And you ride with that. You're like, okay, I'll take this as a principle I'm going to use in my business or whatever it is. But I don't really worry about people, whether they're competitive with me or if I'm sharing something and that could be with someone who's a competitor with what I do. I don't think about it like that I think more in terms of sharing. What can I do to build someone up? And again, I take the biblical principle of not casting your pearls before swine. So when mentors give me information, I always tell them, look, this is not I am good ground, so what you're giving me is going to bear fruit. And when I mentor other people, I try to be very mindful of what I'm giving them. Are they ready for this information? Or will they value what I'm giving them? And when I recognize that you don't value it, I don't waste my time a whole lot.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. And so, I want to follow with that. What do you believe has been the key to your success?
Doing what comes natural. Doing what I was created to do. And it's amazing when people use that word success. Someone told me that, maybe a couple months ago, and they said something about you being successful. And in my spirit, I didn't feel successful because I was like, well, I'm not making the money I want to make yet.
Right.
And when I hung up with them, though, I was just kind of meditating with God. It's like God said, how do you measure success? I heard him just say, I was sitting and painting. Like, how are you measuring your success?
Wow.
Are you measuring it by your bank account? Or are you successful because you're doing what I created you to do? If I never made a penny or if I made $100 million, it's irrelevant. The success comes in doing what I was created to do. And I tell people all the time, I say, God would not give you scales and fins and the capacity to breathe underwater if he didn't intend for you to swim. So I have been creative my whole life. I have been writing poetry and singing, painting and drawing, anything creative. And in my whole life, that's what the system of the world, whether it was the educational system or extended family, even some friends, try to draw you away from. Well, how are you going to make money as an artist? No one makes money as an artist. What are you going to do with that? You're going to go to school for art? All you can do is teach. So my whole life there was discouragement in doing what came naturally to me.
Wow.
So that's how you find out where your success lies, is doing what do you absolutely enjoy and have a passion for that is not rooted in money. And that's where you will find your success. That's where you'll find your happiness and your joy. Most people are working and doing things to try and bring an income. And I know we have to live in this world, but we've been trained since we were little, follow the money, not your passion.
Yes.
So that's my successes. Really, and I'm still learning on the journey. I'm still learning to hunker down. Like, you know what? I'm most happy when I'm painting. I'm most peaceful when I'm painting or creating or sharing with other creatives. And that's what I'm a fish in water.
Yeah.
That's success.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to move into the topic as it relates to culture vibes. And it's pretty much a topic, dealing with topics that may be trending or pop culture or things of that nature. And so I wanted to ask you as it relates to women of color, excuse me. I read once where it said big brands are willing to profit from women of color without standing up for them. And so I wanted to know, do you agree with that?
Oh, I'm sure. I think that's big business profits off a lot of people without sewing into them. But I think if we look on the other side as Black women, being educated on where we invest our monies, because people cannot take advantage of you unless you let them.
Right.
So there are a lot of companies out here that probably are not, really uplifting or investing back into the Black women that support them or make them successful financially. But I think as we learn and educate ourselves on where we're putting our dollars, that is the most powerful move I've seen in this country that corporations respond to is you stop spending your dollars. They're like, wait a minute.
I know, right?
Wait a minute. We didn't mean that.
Right.
So, we have so many products. It's hard to keep up with everything, but making a concerted effort on the things that you spend big dollars with or consistently purchase with, make sure you understand where your dollars are going. And if they're not going in places that benefit you and your community and people that look like you and live like you, then, rethink where you're putting your dollars.
Right, right. And I truly believe, as it relates to all markets, they pretty much they seem to benefit, just like you were saying, from us, from our buying power. And we really do have a huge amount of that. I think I saw somewhere once the stat was, it was recently, where it was like $7.5 $1 million a year just in, or was it $1 million or $1 billion? That's in,
billion.
It probably was $1 billion for health and beauty, in that industry. And so and that's just us. We're not even talking about other, so billions of dollars. And that's a lot of, that's a lot.
A lot of time.
Right. That's a lot of something. And so, it's like we should be making more, or at least represented, so in those owning rooms. And so that's why I want to ask you too, how do you believe and, that we can continue making strides to prepare the way for the next generations after us?
Right. Well, companies like myself, reinvesting in Black-owned businesses, or even if it's not Black-owned, again, making sure that it's doing something positive for your community, and educating ourselves and each other, like prompting, your sisters, hey, I'm going to purchase, let me tell you about this new company, it's Black-owned, and they do this, or this company, it's a female-owned, and I love their products, and look what they're doing. So sharing the word of mouth is your biggest advertisement, and it's our biggest strength in the community. So sharing with people information, hey, check this new product out, or, don't shop here because this, and this, and just getting the word out. So that's powerful.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move into the topic as relates to the weight and singleness. And so I wanted to ask you, as it relates to your life as a single woman of color, how has your experience been thus far?
Well, you have your ups and downs, but I am so nestled into where God has me right now. I enjoy my singleness, and I'm not saying that I don't want to get married, and whenever the time is right with the right person. However, I revel in the ability, if I want to go to a poetry set that starts on a Thursday at 10 o'clock p.m., I pick up and go.
Right.
I sleep in my bed with, from corner to corner, my arms stretching each way.
Right. It's so funny. It's so funny you said that, Yogi, because I was saying that before I was talking to the people. I said, I like my bed,
Yes, I can sleep all.
It's the little things.
Don't run into a soul.
Right.
It's awesome. And I think, and building relationships, I meet people. I love going out to artistic events, and even doing my business, the amount of time that I have to sow into this, I don't even know if I would have time for a relationship right now, because it's just, I spend a lot of time on artwork. I'm taking classes, and I like just the freedom of being able to move about. So I think we have this stigma that, again, comes from the system of the world since you're little, that, women just have to get married right off the bat. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you are single, you're not destitute, you're not some weed waiting in the wind for somebody to come water you. You let God water you where you are and bloom.
It's good.
And and don't adhere to adopt some of these ideologies that, there's no good black men out there, and men are doing, and there may be a lot of crazy stuff going on. But I say build yourself up and be who you want to attract.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You want someone who's emotionally sound, you be emotionally sound. You want someone who's financially stable, you get financially stable.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are looking for someone to come rescue them or fill in the gaps of their life. And it's
That's
like
real.
right now I'm in my place allowing God to fill in my gaps and to make me emotionally stable and make me financially stable. All the things that I would want in my mate. And I believe when it comes, it's going to be divine or be perfect, because the wait, it's worth it.
Right.
It's worth it.
Right. Well, what would you say to, just a younger sister? Because definitely, when you have lived and you've matured and really had an opportunity to experience life, you can really get to that place. And you could do it being younger too, but just maybe those who they're fresh out, just because I remember being there myself and had to get to this place now, because I have not always been here. Where just like you're not, and I call it where it's not, singleness is not a holding cell for marriage. Yeah, for some reason that's how we've been taught, and that's what you just said. You're supposed to get married, like that's where you're supposed to be next, and not if that's not for you at that time, not if, like you said, and really praying about if it's not divinely ordained, because the fact of the matter is everything that looks good out here isn't.
Okay.
Even with these relationships, I see where some they're faking it, and it is what it is. So, but you would look and think, you see all this stuff on social media that, everybody is so happy, it's so awesome. And that may not be the case, for different reasons, whether it's abuse, it could be mental or physical or whatever, neglect or however. But just in speaking to the younger ones who, because the culture we're in, just the whole, everybody's relationship goals, hashtag relationship goals. What would you say to her as it relates to the weight and, like you were saying, valuing who you are first?
Well, I think we have to be very careful, like you were saying, with what we see on social media, because it is inundating our eyes, our minds, our souls every day, all day. People are just, especially young people, they're gorging on it. However, realizing a lot of that stuff may not be real. If it is real, great for that person, but don't let what you see take away from who you are. And I know married people that are unhappy. Mm-hmm. I know married people that are happy.
Yeah.
And even the ones that my parents, for instance, were married for 38 years before my mother passed. Mm-hmm. And some of the things my mother told me about marriage, it's work, and especially for a wife, it's a ministry. I hear women all the time running around, I'm looking for my Boaz.
My Lord.
Yeah,
that was a period of time.
I finally read this story one day. I was familiar with it, but let me read it.
Right.
And when I really read it, the first time I did not like it. I was like, this sounds horrible. This does not sound like a love affair.
Right.
She was chasing him down. She was so and I said, Lord, this time, let me read it again. God, show me what you want me to see. And the first thing I saw is that she was not hunting for a man. She was serving a widow.
Come on now. Yes.
She was serving, and so she was sacrificing her life in service.
Come on.
And that's when he noticed her.
See?
And the first thing he did was provide for her. Hey, leave some extra sheaves over here for that lady to get. And he protected her. None of the men will mess with you. So it's a beautiful story of provision. And after I read it, God told me, he said, instead of looking for their Boaz, women ought to be crying out for their Savior. Your personal Savior. So if you can't have that relationship with God, first. Let him be your husband. Because marriage is a ministry. I mean, women, we have an idea that, I'm going to get married and it's going to be just wonderful. We're going to make breakfast and hang out. It's work. When he is on your last nerves, will you still serve him? When he's maybe not giving you what you need emotionally, can you still serve in the capacity of a wife? So I think we have a mystical, fantastic fantasy idea of what marriage is, and it takes away from the time that we can be building ourselves as a woman. If that is your goal one day, to be married, then know that you have to be happy where you are and who you are before he gets there.
Yeah.
Because he can't make you happy. He can't make you whole. So enjoy your time as a young woman. I say build yourself up. Make friends. Travel. Try different things. Try new foods. Try making jewelry. Try, pottery. Develop your life. Live your life, because it'd be a shame to look back and, say I wasted 20 years of my life waiting and not building myself up, and now I'm not who I should be.
Absolutely.
So invest in yourself, even in your singleness, because now you have the time to do it. When you're married, you may not have that time.
Yeah. No, that's good. I hear that so much, just like you said, marriage is work, like what your mom said, because I hear that from different people who are married, and you really have to know that's what you should be doing at that time, and just like you said, it's that preparation before that, to get to that space. So absolutely, thank you for sharing that. And we're going to move into the topic as relates to family. And, like I said in the intro, one of the key areas that my grandmother Flora Pearl taught us, me and my family, it was about family, And I wanted to ask you, how important is family to you?
Well, I would say this. Family it's the cornerstone of your life. And when I say family, it may not be those who carry the same DNA, but those who have been part of your foundation in this world growing up. And I remember my sister moved to California some years ago by herself. She didn't know a soul. She just picked up and moved. And I told her, I said, I just want to let you know that no one's going to be there for you like family. And it was probably when she was young, so a couple of years she came, a couple years later she was visiting back home here in Birmingham, and she said, you know what, that was the most real advice you ever gave me, that no one is really going to look out for me like family. And so it's just that cornerstone that God gives us in this world, where push come to shove, family is going to come rescue you. Family will love you regardless. There are a lot of people out here that will give you a lot of fanfare, and they love you as long as you make them happy. They love you as long as you are giving them what they need, as long as you're on top. But when you're not on top, and when you're not giving people what they need, and when you're broken or struggling, family is the one that's going to love you. So that's right after God is family. It's family.
It's good. It's good. Well, we're going to segue into the topic as it relates to mother-daughter bonds. And so right here, I actually want to announce to our audience officially, because I haven't, as it relates to the podcast, to say that I have become a published author. And thank you. My faith is on that bestseller tag. So let's keep it, we're going to keep it moving towards that. But the book, it is entitled This Relationship Matters, and it's 7 Keys to Building Healthy Mother-Daughter Bonds, and it's a mother's perspective. And so just a few reviews of what others are saying about it. One of the review is, I found Humphrey's debut book an inspiring read that will no doubt bring mothers and daughters closer together. It's fitting for relationships looking for where to start, or for those seeking to grow stronger. And then another one was as relates to motherhood, particularly when mothering a daughter can be complex. As a mom to a daughter, you are her disciplinarian, her first blueprint of womanhood, confidant, accountability partner, and more. Latasha gives mothers sound wisdom on how to steward all of these roles in a way that will lay the foundation for an authentic mother-daughter bond built on love and mutual respect. And so with that, I'm just really excited to be able to have even been able to pen that. I really prayed about what to write. And then the Holy Spirit gave instruction. And so with that, I was able to really share. And even with the mother-daughter bonds, it's different questions in it. It is a reflection journal part in it, along with questions and affirmations in it. And so it really is dedicated to mothers and daughters everywhere. And so with having said that, Miss Yogi, I did want to ask you one of the questions. What has your mother, taught you about yourself?
Whew, that's awesome. How strong I am and how beautiful I am inside and out. And that God is the center of my world. So she actually was the first person when I was young taught me, art. I remember, learning, because she didn't have a lot of knowledge on what to do with me as a baby, because she came out of a rough childhood, a very hard childhood in the deep South. But she had me at 19, and they moved to New York, her and my dad, and she said she didn't know what to do with me, but she knew what not to do with me. And so she started taking classes on parenting.
Wow.
And I think this story is powerful, not just because it's my story, but this is one of those stories where that generational curse of is broken. You can have a parent who's abusive and their children become abusive, and then their children. And so my mother came out of an abusive, home, very rough upbringing, but she made a conscious decision, I'm not going to do this to my child. And so she took parenting classes at New York at the local college, and she started giving me, they talked about stimulating your child's imagination. So not giving me coloring books, but large blank pieces of paper where I could create. I had markers and colored pencils and crayons, and there was nothing wrong if I made a pink tree, or if the bird was purple with white feet. She was like, okay, the bird is purple.
I know,
she
right?
taught me watercolors. She bought me my first easel before I even entered school, and had paintbrushes. So she taught me a lot. She observed who I was, and then she poured into that. And she always built me up, and she saw more than in me that I could ever see in myself. She was the first person only person that made me get on stage and do my first poem. And this was like in my 30s, early 30s, or no, it might have been late 20s. I was petrified, to go to an open mic poetry slam. And I said, Mom, I'm afraid. And she was like, well, do it afraid. And so, she's sitting in this bar, this smoky bar, which she did not like to go to, but she wanted to see her daughter step over that sense of fear. And I won the slam that night, but I started seeing, oh my goodness, I'm stronger than I knew I was. And so those are some of the life lessons she left with me, do it afraid. And if I would say something was hard, what does hard have to do with it? And so those are the things that, it kept me pushing even after she's gone. It's like I could just still hear her voice, like, keep going, sugar, it's worth it. Keep pushing. And, we just have greatness inside of us, but something about a mother being able to pour into her daughter, she taught me what it looks like to be a wife, what it looks like to be a good friend, what it looks like to serve in the church, what it looks like to have your own personal relationship with God at home. My mother was the one, I might be coming in from the club 3 o'clock in the morning, and my mother would have that light on under that door in her guest room, and she's praying, and I'd open the door, and she's got 4 different Bibles out and notepads and sticky notes. So when she would talk to me about God, it wasn't a religious form that I saw only on Sundays. This was the life she lived.
Yes.
And so what she told me about God, she lived it. And when she passed, that was the title on her obituary. She lived Jesus. So that's my goal. If I can just do half of what she did in terms of living what I believe. I'm not perfect, but the chief thing she believed in was loving people. And that will make your life successful. That's what makes your life rich. And I'll just leave this part. I was looking through some of her journals, I think it was about a year or so ago, and she wrote a lot. And as a mother, I think that's a beautiful thing you can leave to your children. You may not even know that they're going to see it one day. But if you have something you can leave them in writing about who you are and your intimate moments, it'll carry them when you're not here.
Yeah.
But in this notebook, I saw up the side of she had written up the side by the spiral. And she was talking to God, and she said, Lord, please help me to value people like you do, for they're the only things that have eternal value. And so that stuck to my spirit. It stuck to my spirit. So my goal as a woman, and what she made me to be, was to just learn how to walk with God, love people, and never be afraid to follow your passions.
Yeah. And I do want to tap into one of the chapters. It's about love her right where she is now.
Right.
And the affirmation, because it really goes in line with what you were saying, even your mom, just instilled in you and her being there supporting you. And one of the affirmations for that is, I strongly believe my daughter has a voice in this world. And because I value her, I respect her voice and her opinion. And, I just, wow. And I wanted to ask you, in those times, because I know you said your mom, she would be praying for you. So there may have been something you were behaving in a way where she was like, I don't really understand, but this is what I can do right now, as it relates to her praying and, and making sure she covered you. And I wanted to know, the way that she handled her emotions, and to basically move beyond those moments. How did that help you with how you handle things now?
Well, I'll tell you what was so powerful, because I don't know anything else other than what she gave me. But when I would listen to her stories of her upbringing, she shared a lot. And like I said, my mother had me at 19. She had me young, so she said I was kind of like her little sister growing up. But she shared with me. She would sit down and tell me what her life was like growing up, and stories about, when she was a little girl and different things, hardships she went through. I remember her telling me how when she was little, they were so poor, she would come home and there'd be nothing in the refrigerator to eat. She's in 4th, 5th grade, and there's nobody home. There's no food. She said there'd be like a little crusty piece of cornbread sitting in the refrigerator, and she would put some sugar on that and pour some condensed milk on it and eat that.
Wow.
And how her shoes, she used to have to put newspaper in the front of her shoes because her feet were growing through it and the holes were there. And so she went through a lot, but more so she talked about what it was like to be a little black girl in the 50s in Deep South Mississippi, and the beatings, because black people were so taught to just beat our children. That's how you discipline them. And never being asked what you thought. Black, you were supposed to be seen and not heard. And I remember her telling me she was 20, I think in her 20s, 25. We had moved to New York, and she said one of her friends, they had read her book and asked her what she thought about it. And she said no one in her life had ever asked her what she thought about anything. And it was the first time someone said, what did you think? And so she made it her purpose to always ask me, what do I think about things? Even after church, if we came home from church and I didn't understand something or didn't like something, the pastor, she wanted to talk about it. So she wasn't a tyrannical mother where you just beat your kids down and stuff things down their throat. She talked to us, how are you feeling today? Well, what did you think about service? Or what do you think about this? Or what do you want to do? And, well, what about this guy you're dating? Or whatever, she always talked. And she always had that open communication. And she said, you can tell me anything. Understand, though, I may not agree with what you say. And there may be consequences if you've done something wrong. But I want you to know you can always talk to me. So that was, that I think is key. It's paramount for the mother-daughter relationship, is to have that softness, to have that communication. A lot of women, especially in the black community, black mothers have to be so strong because of our history in this country. So we don't walk with some of that gentleness sometimes. Yeah. I don't ever remember my mother yelling at me. Okay. Ever. I got spankings, but they were not beatings. I got disciplined, but I didn't get yelled at or cursed. I never heard cursing in my house, ever.
Yeah.
No one was screaming and throwing things at you. So that softness, she really taught me that. And just listen. Listen to the heart of a person.
Yes. And it's so amazing you said that, because that is one of the that's one of the other chapters where
we're on the right path together,
I know, right? It's free to speak and slow to mute. Like, that's the name of the chapter. And when you talked about the do, because I was talking about, and when I explained in the chapter, it was about loathing those sayings of do as I say, not as I do. You know, speak when spoken to. How don't speak when grown folks are talking. Those were things as an adolescent girl that I just loathed. Like, I really was like, I didn't like hearing it because, and I referenced to say that because not all adults were adulting very well. So it wasn't like I really could help out with this. Like, if you asked me, I probably could help out with that. Like, we don't have to do it that way because that's what was done in the past. And that's with any adults. It wasn't just, say, my mom. It was just period, you know.
Right.
And just
part of our history in this country.
Yes.
So changing that and letting children
speak.
Be children.
Yes. I mean, my goodness. And that's something I really set out to do, just like your mom did, was give you the voice. And that's the thing with my children. I have, my son and my daughter, and I'm like, what do you have to say? What do you think about it? And it's really to teach them to be thinkers. It's not necessarily that, no, I may not agree with everything, and I let them know on some side, like, okay, now that's a little extra. And I'm like, that's a little extra for me. I specify. And I said, well, if you like this or just different things that they like, I don't denounce those things because I don't understand them. Like I may say, oh, okay. And I'll hear something. It could be music. It could be whatever. But I do want them to be thinkers. I want you to make a decision, be able to think through something. And even if it's the decision you make and say you miss it, okay. But at least you tried. I mean, and it could be try something you like. I don't know if this is gonna work, but yeah, I'm so grateful that you shared that, because that's right on target. With speak, give an opportunity to say something, and even in the time that your mom grew up in, she got that, and whether it was because she wasn't giving that opportunity to do it. That's why she chose to do that. My thing is, it could have been another way. She could have chose to do it the same way that was done with her, and no telling, you may have been different than who you are today. So yes, so with that, I mean, I'm so very grateful that your mom, she definitely seems to be to have left a great legacy, but seemed to have been such a powerful woman who, even though she wasn't at first felt like she was in tune with who she was or wasn't able to do certain things, she began to understand that. And it seemed like it came because of her relationship with God. So that's really awesome.
That's what breaks the cycle, is God.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, people try a lot of different things, but if you don't have God in the center, it's not. And I mean, I just want to put this out there. We went through a lot of different religions, because growing up, again, in the Deep South, all she heard was, fire and brimstone, God's going to get you. He's just waiting to write down everything you do wrong, and then you're going to burn in hell forever and ever.
Right.
And she said as a little girl, she would just be terrified, laying in the bed sweating, like, oh, my God, God's going to get me, and so we went through a lot of religions growing up.
Yeah.
But again, having that, she was always looking for the real God. And when she really found out that he loved us, she said, oh my goodness, like, that's the freedom.
Wow.
She made sure she didn't put that same religious heaviness on us. She wanted to know God's love and his tenderness and his freedom.
Yeah. And did she weigh heavily with attending church? With having a relationship, or was it because I hear a lot of times now when people, as it relates to religion and relationship, that relationship should be valued first. And I'm not saying you can't go to church, but I wanted to ask you, what was her take on that?
Well, I'll tell you this, because she did believe in going to church. We went to a lot of different churches. different sects of the Christian church. I've been through a lot of them. But I remember when we first moved to Alabama, we were going to this little church, and I won't name it, but I was 17, going on 18, and I was bored out of my mind in this church. And she was so embarrassed. She said one Sunday she sat there and she looked over, her entire family was asleep. She was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. My dad, my sister, my brother, and myself, we were all asleep. And she said, oh, girl, I was so embarrassed. Y'all just embarrassed me. But when we got home, again, I'm 17. I'm not grown, but
right.
I just talked to her. I said, Mom, I said, I don't like this church.
Okay.
It's boring. And I said, the whole time I'm there, all I'm thinking about is how much I don't want to be there.
Whoa.
And she gave me power in that moment. She said, you know what? You're old enough and you know what I've taught you. She said, if you don't want to go anymore, you don't have to. And I stopped going for a while.
Yeah.
But I never left God.
Yeah.
And even after she passed, right before she passed, I wasn't going to church for a while, but I've never left God. So she gave me that foundation. And, I was just always looking for love. Like if you, I don't care where you go to church, if there's no love.
Right.
So she taught me even when you go into church, and she believed in it because it's in the Word. She taught me the Word, but she got past the, you're little, you got to go to church today.
Right.
It's now I want you to find your own path.
Right.
And I'm in a church now for the first time as an adult that I chose.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
weird, but yeah, just again, going back to that communication, I was able to tell her, hey, Mom, I'm really not feeling this church, and I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. And she said, you know what? Okay. You don't have to go. And I was like, what?
I know. You say, okay.
But I'll tell you this too, though, but she was a praying woman. She was always on that back burner like soup.
Yes.
Praying for her children, her husband, her, extended family, friends. She was always praying. So even when she let go of us in terms of rearing us, I don't think she really dealt with fear, like, oh, I hope they make the right decision. It was, I prayed for my children. To you handle them.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and
that's the power.
It really is. That's so awesome to hear her say that because, hear you say that about her because that's kind of how, even for me with my children, that's what I believe. I mean, at this point, when you have instilled in them, you've given them the foundation, and of course you're still there as a, where they can come and ask questions and things like that. But they're forming their thoughts.
Right.
they're how they will steward things that have been given to them. But that relationship with God is first and foremost to me. I believe that anything else will fall in line as long as that's strong.
Right.
And basically you'll be on the path, but you have to have a sense of who you are in Him, and then that's when the doors open and you'll know which direction to go in when you have that relationship. So that's awesome that she,
Absolutely.
gave you that. And you can tell that from your life, with how you're, different things you're stewarding now, whether you know it or not, just that I hear, what you've even shared about her in your life with what you're sharing. With what you're actually doing, so it's you, but she definitely is here with, she's present, with you and you can tell that she really took time, and this is what it looks like when you do take the time not to be perfect, but you're actually honest with your, child, and then you basically you are a steward of them, So that's beautiful. And that's something that I learned early on. God really showed me he told me that I was a steward and those were His children, actually. And I said, oh, okay. Look, so when different things have come up along the way, I'm like, this is not, they're yours. So help me. You tell me where to go. But that's what He said. You're to teach. He said, you are a steward and you are to teach them what I teach you. Like but they're mine. And that takes a big load off. So when you get that revelation, it's like, that works. That's what's up. That works for me.
Wow.
So yeah, but thank you for sharing. And I do want to ask a series of questions right now. It's an opportunity for our guests to get to know you even more. And so, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. What book most influenced you?
Oh, my goodness. I just have to say the Bible.
Okay.
The Bible.
Perfect. What keeps you grounded?
God.
All right. What are three qualities that got you where you are today?
Humility, passion, and being teachable.
Okay. What question do you wish more people would ask you?
What is God to you?
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you that question. What is God to you?
He is, he's really been my counselor. When my mother passed, I really went mentally way down, depression, everything. And I really felt like I was losing my mind. And God kept me together. I went and saw a psychiatrist, and I had been to several.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really suicidal. And I said, Lord, this is my last shot. If this lady is not a good doctor, I'm out of here. Mm. And not only was she good, she counseled me for a year, but I was still having challenges. And one day she said, and this is a doctor, she said, you know what, Miss Carter, you're a woman of faith. Maybe you ought to just talk to God about what's going on. Mm. So he's my, and you know, that's nothing but God for a doctor to tell you that.
Right. Cause
so he's been my counselor. He's been my doctor. I had a migraine some years ago that lasted almost 5.5 months straight. Mm-hmm. And again, I was suicidal. I was in so much pain. I didn't know, doctors didn't know what to do. I spent days in the hospital. It was not going to, it just didn't break, and I couldn't eat. Everything I ate made my head hurt worse.
Okay.
So, and I was really ready to end my life because I was in constant pain. I saw no way out. And God delivered me. Wow. He's the one that took the headache away. Nobody else could do. I saw the best doctors. He has been my friend. He's been my boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know, some days as a single woman, you do get lonely. You're just like, you know, I would love somebody to ride around in the car with. And one day I was just driving. I was like, Lord, I'm just a little lonely today. He's like, I'm right here with you. Mm. And so I would start singing love songs to him. Loving you is easy because you're beautiful.
Yes.
And every day of my life is filled with loving you.
All right.
So I would just sing to him. So he's been my husband. He's been my protector when I was in bad situations I didn't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
And all I could say was the name Jesus. He has been my provider. And sometimes I think that we think God only wants to give us what we need. He's like, I'm going to give you what you want.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
You know, some little pink sneakers I wanted one time, I didn't have the funds. God was like, don't you know I want you to have those sneakers? Mm. I'm like, and he's been my teacher. You know, I went through so much religion coming up.
Yeah.
Not by the hands of my mother, but just, you know, she was just trying different churches. And I never learned about relationship from these churches. I learned from my mother, but never learned about relationship. And so, you know, God and I talk. I know people probably think I'm crazy, or maybe God's not really talking to her, but he does. I can't make up some of the stuff he says. Right. If he delivers me, he's going to deliver her, you know, even from my own thoughts. And I'll just share this little tidbit. I was driving one day. I needed a new car. I'd crashed my car. Mm-hmm. And in that big winter storm we had, and I didn't have the funds for another car. I really didn't. And I'm driving a rental. It was about 2 days before I had to take the car back. And I was driving and crying. Now, mind you, a year prior to this car crash, my old car, God told me, I wanted a new car, and God told me, he said, just stop thanking me for your new car. Take care of the old one, but keep thanking me for the new one. And I would be crying because, I mean, my old car would break down. It was, you know, a jalopy.
Yeah.
But I kept it clean. I still vacuumed it. I washed it, and I just kept thanking God for my new car. So here it is. I'm driving, almost a year later, I'm driving a rental car because my old car is gone, and I don't have the money for a new car. And I felt so much condemnation because I didn't trust God. And I was just driving and crying, and I told him, I said, God, I should trust you. You have saved my life so many times, but I don't right now. I don't trust you, and I'm afraid you're going to drop me, or you're going to teach me some horrible lesson that's going to cost me everything. I said, Lord, I'm trying to start this business. I can't be in Birmingham without a car. And I heard God say so clearly, it's your desire to please me that pleases me.
Oh, wow.
And it took away all the fear and condemnation. It's like it sucked out of my car. And peace came in. And the next day, I was laying in bed crying again, just still in fear. And it hit me like a bowling ball. God said, go get your car today. I'm sitting in the car that I could not afford. I cannot tell you how my pay has still not really changed. But I'm almost 3 years now in a car that I could not afford.
Jesus.
And when just recently I was driving and I'm still amazed. I said, Lord, thank you for my car. He said, no, you begin to thank me for things you cannot see. I won't share it on the podcast. He told me the next thing to start thanking him for.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm touching something I couldn't afford.
Yes.
I mean, I had $50 at the end of each month. That's not going to cover a car note or car insurance.
Right.
And I have not once. And so he's been my provider. He's been my teacher. He's been my hugs. You know, when you lose a loved one, nighttime, I mean, you have bad moments, but middle of the night,
yeah,
when I would be crying so hard, missing my mother, and I was angry with God. Like, you didn't help her. What did you do? And he was so big and so strong, he could handle my anger. And he would literally help me breathe. Some nights I'd be crying so hard, I would be hyperventilating.
Yeah.
And I would just be screaming out for Jesus. And next thing I know, it's like someone came in my room and hugged me, and I would be asleep. And, you know, he would wipe my tears. And I'll share this. I was at my church after my mother passed, was like maybe the first month, and I was kneeling at the altar. And everyone else had left the altar. I was the last person there, and I was just crying. I was holding it like, if I let go of this altar, I'm going to die. Like, my mother's not here. I'm over. Life is done. And I was just crying so hard, and I did not move my lips, but I just said it with my heart. I said, God, if my mother was here, she'd be coming down that aisle, and she would lay her hands on my back and on my shoulders and pray. And before I finished telling God that, my pastor came and stood in front of me at the altar and put his hands on my shoulders. And I was like, oh, my God. So he has been my mother. He has been my father. He has been everything. And I'm still yet coming into the revelation of everything that he is to me. He's been my, teacher with the painting. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I liked to paint. People are like, well, do you sketch? I'm like, no, I just sit down with wood and paint and a brush, and God works through my hands. So I don't have enough things to say about him, but my passion is that when I leave this earth, more than people remembering my artwork or my earrings or, fire poetry or her rap, that they would remember God's love flowing through me, and that would continue to ripple through other people,
That's perfect.
But that's the cornerstone of who I am.
That's good stuff. Wow. Whew. All right. Whew, that leaves you like some chills, Yogi. It's like, whew,
it's
all
real.
right.
It is so real.
Oh.
He has walked with me so much. And not to say this, even last Sunday, after the last few months, I would start having incredible neck and back pain. I think it was because of the way I would sit.
Yeah.
When I would paint, I'd be so engrossed, I would sit for hours. And I've been working out, and my neck and my upper back were really, I was in excruciating pain. So it got to the point where I couldn't even paint recently. I mean, I couldn't sit down, and I was just suffering for weeks. And one day, my sanctuary is my car and my porch. I go on the front porch and talk to God. And it was just last Sunday, I think it was, and I was just sitting on the porch crying. And I was just coming to God like, I know you've given me great things to do, but I can't be like this the rest of my life, my back. And it just came up in me. I laid my hand on my neck, and I just started speaking to it. I said, neck, I speak to you. Vertebrae, I speak to you to come back in a perfect alignment. Pain, you have to leave. And I just started talking to my neck with my hand on it. And I heard God say, I agree with you. And all I can tell you today, I don't have pain in my neck.
Yes.
So he said, with 2 or 3 agree. So he's like, if you say what I say, I'll agree with you.
That's some good
stuff. But it wasn't something I just did.
Yeah.
It was inspired by his spirit. It wasn't like, you know, a name and a claim. Oh, I'm just going to say this and this is going to happen. If I just say it 100 times. When God tells you to say something, it's coming to pass.
Yes.
So he's taught, and he's been my lawyer. And I'm going to end with this because there's so much. I could go on and on. You asked me about God, but I just share this because this is so crucial to how much we need God no matter what you're doing. I'm a business owner. I don't know what I'm doing. I had a contract opportunity to go on a game show, the Steve Harvey show, not his talk show, but it was going to be a competition business pitch show. Okay. Long story short, I know I can win. I have a personality. I have a great product. But they sent a contract. First contract, I had an attorney friend look over for me. He said, "Yo, it looks good. This looks like you might, you know, if they have any footage of you falling or something, they'll have that forever and they can use it how they see fit." I was like, okay. And I'm still asking God, is this what you want me to do? Because this is big money. This might be my break. And I still didn't hear a thing. So I kept going. Second contract comes. It's bigger. It's like 1/4 of an inch thick. And I'm just like, oh, Lord, I don't want to keep abusing my relationship with my friend who's an attorney. Can you read this for free? So I asked God to show me. I said, Lord, you know what this contract is. Show me what I'm supposed to see. So by the time I got to the second page of the contract, and there's a lot of words in there I don't understand here too, and with this and whatever's, and this one line popped off the page. It looked like there was a spiritual highlighter. And this phrase popped up and it said, in perpetuity and in the universe. And it jumped out. I was like, oh my God. And I know that in perpetuity means forever. And in the universe. And I was like, my God, what kind of force would inspire someone to put you in contract forever? And what makes you think you have to enforce it somewhere else other than Earth?
Right. Whoa.
It sounded diabolical. Not saying anything against Steve Harvey or anything. This is what the legal system is like. The system of the world.
Wow.
So God showed me, no, that's not it. And it was $20,000. The second time I've been offered $20,000 for my business. And I could have just signed my soul away for $20,000.
Just for 20. Come on. Look.
But God showed me. But God, that's why I say having even the humility to say, Lord, show me what this contract means. I don't know these words. I don't have the money for a retainer, for an attorney. Yes. And I'm sure my friend would have read it, but I don't want to keep asking him. And God's like, I know what it means, and I'll show you.
See, I'm talking. You just got to the second page, like you said. It wasn't even a long time. It was like right here.
Right, second page.
This is where you need to look.
And I said, that sounds like something the enemy would do to try and bind you forever.
Bind you forever, ever?
Not just in our solar system, the universe.
Yeah, you took it too far. Right.
Yeah, so that's who God's been to me, my attorney, my doctor, my counselor, my mentor, my fresh wind, my next breath, my rain, my food, my plants, my energy, my vision. He's everything.
Yeah.
He's everything.
Perfect. And what is something that every woman should try once in her lifetime?
Karaoke! I'm just joking.
Say karaoke!
I think every woman should try something that scares the bejesus out of her.
Okay.
Whatever it is that you're most afraid of.
Yeah.
Try it.
Good stuff.
Try it.
Good stuff. Okay. What superpower would you like to have?
I want to fly.
All right. What would you say to a woman with a broken heart?
Give it to God.
Okay. What would a perfect day for you look like?
Oh, my. Like today, you wake up, and I didn't have to wake up to an alarm clock. God woke me up. Mm-hmm. I hate that jarring first thing in the morning. Bang, bang, bang. Oh, my God. Yeah. I do not believe God intended for us to wake every day in fear, and being startled. Mm-hmm. Being able to have some quiet time with God, sitting on the porch, go work out, whatever that is. I might go walking, might work out the gym, come home, my perfect day, not there yet, but my perfect day, my assistant would be handling my emails and calls and all that. And I get to create, come home and paint, maybe make some homemade soup. And just being creative, being able to really paint and maybe walk around the neighborhood, see if I can find pieces of wood or something unique someone's thrown away and create that. And I also love sharing and talking to people, encouraging people when I can. So that opportunity, maybe a phone call or something like that. And maybe end the night with, some reading or some more painting.
Okay. Well, what's the most important lesson that you've learned in the last year?
Sometimes a smile is just a wolf showing you their teeth. Everybody that smiles in your face is not for you.
All right now.
Gotta have God on this journey. Again, I can't say it enough. I don't know how people do it without him. Because I could work really, really hard and strive and, and God's like, well, you can just rest and trust that the path I put you on is coming to fruition. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I was kind of having a moment because entrepreneurs, you're going to have those moments of doubt. You're going to have those moments of feeling like quitting. You're going to have those moments, is this really what I'm supposed to do? And I literally heard this voice in the spirit speaking over me. It sounded like a trumpet, but it wasn't. It was like, and it was so matter of fact, and was saying, Yolanda Carter will do this, and Yolanda Carter is this, and you are this. And I was in the spirit. I was like, God, what is this voice? He says, the Holy Spirit. And then he kept talking.
Yeah.
And I could hear him declaring things over me. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a comfort now. You know what I'm saying? That you're going to do this.
Yes, it's good.
So having God in there, it's just, I can't say it enough.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to segue into the topic as relates to community service, and this is an opportunity for you to share with our audience how you're giving back and how you're serving the community.
Well, I partner or facilitator with Real Life Poets Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization, and I go to Pathways Shelter once a month. I do a lot of other things, but this is something I've done consistently.
Yeah.
It's a shelter for women and children in downtown Birmingham, and I've been going there about 5 years now, maybe 5.5, first Friday of every month. And I don't have enough good things to say about that situation. One, God used those women who were already in their own tests and trials of life to save my life. There were times when I would be, like I said, I was struggling with suicide after my mother passed, incredible levels of depression. And, some nights I may not even slept. And the next morning, God would tap me on my shoulder and wake me up. Hey, it's time to go to Pathways. I'm like, oh my God, I've been up all night crying. I don't have anything to give these women. And God would say, good, and it'll be all me. And I would just go.
Yeah.
And I just would just show up. I said, I have no program. I have no syllabus. I'm just here, and we're doing poetry, and I don't know what we're going to do today. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the ladies would ask me to sing, or we would share poems, but the encouragement I got from just watching who these women are, and it keeps you humble, too, and thankful. It's so easy in this country to think, oh, I don't have the car I want, or my house isn't big enough. But when you go serve and someone tells you they had to take a 3-minute shower, or someone stole their medication, or we can't have candy in the shelter, and people have a misconception, I think, that shelters, you just get to lay back all day. You don't. It's almost like they have the same outlines kind of as you would in prison. You have to be up at a certain time. You get so much time to take a shower. You got to eat what they serve you. And then you got to hit the streets. You can't just lay up all day, even if you don't feel good. So I would come home and say, Lord, I thank you I could take a hot shower. I thank you I can go in the refrigerator and there's options.
Wow.
I can make a green smoothie. I remember one lady in particular, she had high blood pressure, older sister that was at the shelter.
Yeah.
She said, I can't eat pork. That's all they serve. She said, I just pray and ask God to keep my body while I'm here. So there's something about going, and I've been prayed for there and prayed for women there. And I have had miracles over and over again. I'll just share this one story. I had a sister there, and her name is Yolanda as well. And she came up and prayed for me after class one. And I was really struggling that day. And this was just a few months ago. And she prayed for me. And it was bizarre because to me, normally people take your hands and they pray for you. But she took my hands and she just worshiped God over me. And while she was praying, God told me to give her $20. And I didn't have a lot of cash on me, but I was like, okay, Lord. Mm-hmm. And when I gave it to her, she started crying. She said, oh, my God, I can't believe you gave me. No, I said, I have to give it to you. God told me to give it to you. And she spoke a word over. She said, may this come back to you, 100 times, 100-fold back. That night, I needed money for earring supplies that I didn't have. I thought I didn't have. I don't know what happened. I ended up in my PayPal account somehow, and there was extra almost $500 in my account.
Wow.
And God told me, he said, don't expect the blessings to always come from outside. I can uncover things you don't know you have. And that money had been sitting in my account for probably a month, and I didn't know it. So God was just showing me, he said, look, you serve people, you're going to be blessed in ways you don't even know.
It's good.
You don't. So that's why I do pathways, and I have young artists come through sometimes. People have reached out and want me to teach their kids art or whatever, and so I'm like, bring them to the studio, we'll talk. And I'll show them what I do.
That's awesome.
So I love giving back.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
We're gonna to move into our faith segment, and it's an opportunity for you to share a time when your faith has been tested, and share with our audience how you came through it.
I think the two biggest marks, well, there's been a lot of things in my life, but two things I can think of recently, my mother passing and having the migraine, that was hard. But all I can say was being able to be honest with God when my mother passed. It's been a journey, but being honest, I didn't want to hear religious rhetoric, and I didn't want anybody quoting scriptures to me, and you should be happy, your mother's in a better place. I was pissed, I really was. And I kind of shut down from church people because I didn't want to hear all that. And all I can say is being able to be honest with God. The same God I was mad with was the same one who carried me through. So even though I was angry, he kept still showing me mercy and grace, and just brought me through. He brought me through, and I'm still here today by that, I remember about a month after my mother passed, and I was sitting at a red light, and I was not in a good place mentally. And I heard God say, I love you. And I looked in my rearview mirror, and I looked in the back seat, and I said, this can't be God talking to me. I look like everything but a child of God right now. And it was him. And I started thinking all the reasons why God wouldn't love me right then. And I started reflecting on this pastor I used to sit under. And he was always talking about, you got to be holy, holy, holy. God will not come through your drug-induced days to speak to you. You got to be holy, holy, holy. And I remember God saying, he didn't love you enough to know what I'll go through to get to you. Because I was broken and I had given up on God.
Yeah.
So he walked with me in dark places, really, really bad places I went in my life after my mother passed. And he was right there, right there. And so, him being able to handle my anger and my questions, I wanted to know why she was gone, but no answer would be sufficient because she wasn't here. And he just walked with me. I've had 7 surgeries in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful when people pray for you and you go into the hospital, but when it comes down to it, it is you and God in that surgery room on that gurney.
Yeah.
And he shows up like every time. So that's all I can say. I'm not even supposed to be here. I've had a gun pulled on me multiple times. And God saved my life. my life.
Wow, that's perfect. Thank you for sharing and being transparent with that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, look, that's the way people get healed. We can pretend it all together.
Yeah.
You know, I know this, the people Jesus hung out with were prostitutes and murderers and tax collectors, the dregs of society. They weren't dressed up and pretty.
Right.
And the only people that gave him a problem were religious leaders. So I'll stick on the other side.
Right. I don't want to be the one giving him problems. How about that?
Right,
I need some help with what. I need some help with the problems that come my way. So I don't want to cause him problems. I want him to solve, help me with mine. So yeah, I hear you.
Amen.
That's what's up.
I am with you.
Yes. Well, we're going to move into our closing segment. It's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And the first question is, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self, what would you say to her? Everything you have and everything you are comes from God, and it's beautiful and it's valid, and don't let anyone take it away from you. It's good. It's good. Who inspires you, Yogi?
My mother did. She really did. She inspires me a lot, even though she's not here now, but her legacy still lives on. And she inspired me to try new things.
Yeah.
And to never feel like you're too old to start something new.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be quirky.
Okay.
It's okay to not fit in.
Yeah.
With the status quo.
Yeah, good stuff.
I think she loved that about me the most. I was kind of strange. And she celebrated that.
It's awesome. Yeah. What do you have any last minute pearls of wisdom that you like to share?
Again, more than anything, I want people to remember that, that God is love.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's really a powerful thing to be able to experience His love. And it's not just about being nice or kind or cordial, authentic, long-suffering love. And with God there and that love, you can do anything, things that you didn't even know you could do. And as far as my artwork, I love the support, because I am a business owner as well, but a lot of people don't know where I am. So let me tell you before I forget, it's you can visit my website at YOGIDADALLC.com. It's YOGIDADALLC.com. And, you can see my artwork. I do custom earrings. I do prints. And I paint from my spirit. And I do tell people stories through my artwork. Like when they do a custom order, I can, you'll have to forgive me. I got to get going to another appointment. But
okay.
I can, take your story and paint it on a pair of earrings or wearable artwork. And it's empowering. It really, and I believe it's the anointing of God because people tell me what they feel through my artwork.
Yeah.
I have a lot of women say, oh my God, I love your earrings because they make me feel good. And I kept hearing it so much, I said, this isn't just some empty euphemism. This is an experience that people are having.
Mm-hmm.
So, just, check out the artwork. And if you don't enjoy it, share it anyway. Just,
I know, because somebody will enjoy it. Absolutely.
Yeah, let people know what I do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And Yogi, we just, we want to thank you so much for being with us. You've been very transparent and just awesome. So I appreciate you for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, for thinking of me and giving me the opportunity. And I just pray it blesses someone and gives someone hope to follow their passion. If you are on the edge of life, not feeling good in your body or your mind, that God can deliver you from that. And that, if you're 4 or 45 or 445, you can follow your passion.
That's right. That's awesome. All right.
Amen.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much again.
Oh, you're welcome. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to always be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today. And you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all each week, and we will talk to you soon.